Good evening and welcome to another edition of News at 10 from the News Hub here at Adesa Way, Kanda in Accra. My name is Bright Nana for the Bulletin also live on 3FM 92.7. First, let's take a look at the major news highlights on this very network. Beginning from here, the Accra Regional Police Command has taken over investigations into a police corporal who has been assisting robbers with guns for operations. Corporal Raymond Amegashi of the Tema Region SWAT team, apart from supplying guns to armed robbers, also go on operations with them. Ahead of the NPP's Extraordinary Delegates Conference on Sunday, December 17 in Kumasi, the external branches of the party have called for delegates to reject any proposal which is retrogressive and reclusive. They maintained policies that would discourage further participation in the democratic process must not be countenanced. An Accra District Court has adjourned to 2018 a case involving the murder of Ebuakwa North MP J.B. Dankwa Edu. This follows failure on the part of the pathologist to appear in court for the fourth time after being summoned. A senior research fellow of the Institute of Economic Affairs, Professor John Asafoye, has predicted climate change will reduce output in Ghana's grains by 26.5% by the year 2050. He made this revelation at a roundtable discussion on findings of a research work on climate change in the three regions of the north. And finally, Zimbabwe's new president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, is seeking the removal of sanctions imposed by Western countries, saying they are crippling the national economy. He also indicated that elections due next July could be brought forward. Speaking to governing ZANU-PF party leaders, Mnangagwa said the government will do anything or everything to make sure there were credible, free and fair elections. If you're watching us from Busie in the Upper West region, if you're watching us from Wa, this is your show. We're starting with the big one. Parliament on Wednesday, December 13, 2017, approved a sum of 183,632,576 cedis for the services of the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources. The figure for 2018 is 28% lower than that for 2017 fiscal year. Parliament approved a budgetary allocation of over 255,531 cedis to the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources for the 2017 fiscal year. But will reduction have an impact on government drive to make Accra one of the cleanest cities in Africa? Of the coalition of non-governmental organizations in water and sanitation, Atta Ahen, who's just joining me via Skype. Good evening, sir. Grateful for your time with us. Now, let's begin from here. Now, government drive to see a clean Ghana. In terms of resources, a reduction in budgetary allocation, is it likely to impact negatively on that project? All right, we're trying to speak to Atahin, who is the vice chair of the coalition of...
Hello, Bright. Hello, Bright.
All right, I can hear you now. Grateful for your time with us. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, and thank you for having me.
I am grateful. Now, let's start from here. The government's drive at cleaning up Ghana. We're told that the budgetary allocation to one of the key ministries involved in this is being reduced. The issue is a reduction in budgetary allocation. What could be the possible impact on this aim at cleaning Ghana, making Accra one of the cleanest cities in Africa?
Thank you, Bright. First of all, let me commend you for taking up the issues of water and sanitation very seriously and putting it in the limelight. As a sector, we've always raised concerns about the levels of investment in the water and sanitation sector, because we think that it has the potential to impact positively on improved health, education, food security, poverty reduction, and general socio-economic development. So we are quite disappointed that at a time when the president is trying to realize his vision for Accra as being the cleanest city in Africa, and for making improvements in the sanitation subsector by way of the creation of the new Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, which we have commended, and also the establishment of the National Sanitation Authority, which is coming up, and then the launch of the National Sanitation Campaign. It is quite unfortunate that we should be having a budget cut at this time. I mean, that clearly doesn't demonstrate commitment to the sector, a sector which is so important to the development of this country.
But is budgetary allocation the only way we can fight sanitation?
Well, that's a very good point to make. Well, beside the budgetary allocation, we think that government should be able to explore alternative financing mechanisms. We should also be able to create the enabling environment for private sector participation in water and sanitation. You know that we had our conference, a Mole conference last year on Ghana's lower middle income country status and the implications for sustainable water and sanitation services delivery. Because we are aware that donor funding is dwindling, whether we like it or not, because we are a lower middle income country. We are no more attractive to donors, and so they are shifting resources to poor places. And that is why we expect that government should now be committing more resources to the sector so that we are able to address our poor sanitation situation and also ensure that every citizen in this country is able to access safe water and improve sanitation.
In the past, the Ministry of Sanitation wasn't there, and we used to have water works and housing, water resources works and housing. Now there's Ministry of Sanitation. Couldn't that perhaps be the reason why we see the budgetary allocation going down, and that perhaps there are other resources in other ministries that would come in to help in the effort at cleaning up Ghana?
Right, we don't see it that way, because we know that now we have one single ministry. And then we have moved responsibilities from other ministries to this ministry. For example, the responsibility of the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development in terms of sanitation has now been moved to this new ministry. So we expect that this will correspond with increasing resources. And so if at this time we are rather seeing a decrease in resources, it is quite worrying. However, let me make this point, and you are right. I think that sometime in October, I read in the Daily Graphic about a tender coming from the Office of the President for the supply of limited mechanized systems and institutional latrines. You can say that that is a compliment, but again, we have to be able to know what is the source of funding for this project. Could it not have been better channeled through these agencies which do not have resources to operate? For example, the Community Water and Sanitation Agency, for example, needs resources to be able to operate. So if you access resources, I mean, will it not be prudently managed by agencies who already have capacity to implement water and sanitation interventions?
I see. Then, of course, per your argument, then you could get down to local assemblies where their funding is also being cut. Then for you to say that, indeed, they would also not be able to carry out their mandate of ensuring cleanliness because, of course, they have also suffered the same cut from the national level.
It's a good observation to make because already the budgetary allocation from the district assemblies in terms of water and sanitation is very, very low. They don't prioritize water and sanitation. Very few of them do. And so if their budgets are going to suffer a cut, we want to believe that government has other plans. Of course, government has, the ability to be able to raise funding from other sources. And then in the coming days, we are going to engage the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources and relevant stakeholders to be able to ensure that water and sanitation is prioritized and receive the adequate resources that it deserves. This is a new ministry and it needs resources to be able to establish structures and deliver on its mandate, including meeting the the Sustainable Development Goal 6, targets. Don't forget that our president is a co-chair, and therefore he wouldn't want to see a sector like water and sanitation suffer. We believe that if we engage, we are able to get some increased resources to ensure that Ghanaians have access to safe water and improved sanitation. That is what we have committed ourselves, at least by 2025, and we hope that we should be able to achieve that if we are able to increase financing to the sector.
I'm grateful for your time with us. Atahin is the Vice Chair of the Coalition of Non-Governmental Organizations in Water and Sanitation, CONIWAS. This is News at 10. Stay with us because when we return, we have more for you. Right, and welcome back. The chairman of the People's National Convention is disputing a statement issued by the party's national treasurer, Akani Adams, that the current commissioners of the Electoral Commission cannot be trusted to do good work ahead of the 2020 presidential and parliamentary elections. Akani Adams issued a statement in which he said the conduct of the EC chairperson ahead of the 2016 polls shows that the commissioners cannot handle the next general elections. Bernard Mona is the chairman of the People's National Convention, and he's with me in the studio. Good evening. And so that statement isn't coming from the PNC, that the chairperson and her two deputies cannot handle the 2020 elections?
Thank you, Bright. And normally, you do know that when parties issue statements, the meeting and event that will lead to the statements are captured. Secondly, as you are all aware, party statements are not just issued by any executive of the party. And I'm sure that with your experience in political party participation, you do know that largely it is general secretaries, chairman, and so forth.
Right.
It's not a case where a party just gets up and national treasurer gets up and issue a statement. So I was busy doing some other things. And then my phone was inundated with many calls. I tried to return the calls. Some were coming from party members across the country and the media, of course, telling us that we have issued statements and we are calling that the EC should either resign or be impeached. And I said the party has not met to take any decision of this nature. And indeed, I contacted almost every leader, male executive of the party, and there was not a meeting anywhere where a statement was asked to be drafted and let alone being issued. And
you, as a chairman, has not also organized any meeting?
Yes, I've not authorized any such thing. Even my vice chairman, when they think of an issue that requires that a statement should be issued, they draft the statement and they run it by me for me to go through, and I said, okay, it's all right. Every member of the party that wants to do a statement we know how it is done. So that if it is your expertise, it goes through a certain checks. Otherwise, anybody just get up and say, there is this. And you know, the irony of this is that when there are legal issues, you will see that it is the party chairman, the general secretary, that will be hauled to court. All the other members of the party are not enjoined to whatever suits that there is. So when this statement came, and I have spoken my views on happenings within the Electoral Commission, but at any point in time when I'm even speaking as national chairman, I make it clear that the position that I'm ventilating is not the collective, because the party has not yet met taking a decision on that. So it is inappropriate for any one person to get up without the party sitting down and saying that you have issued a statement, and that should represent the view of the PNC. This evening, I met with a vice chairman of the party, Henry Asante, and he was as equally alarmed. And when I did my statement, I sent it to almost all of them to say, look, I'm responding to this statement because it is not in sync with our party position. And indeed, the party has not taken a position. If Akani decided to speak on issues bordering the Electoral Commission in his capacity as a person, no one will grudge him.
But he cannot speak on, or the party has not taken any decision.
The party has not taken a decision, and therefore it's unmeritorious
for him to say. If he says that what he spoke about, or the position he took, is the position of the party, he might be going against some rules of the party.
I have decided that, you see, we are already in turmoil as a political party, and yes, there are many issues. And indeed, when I sent him, after I did my statement, I sent it to him for him to know that I was responding. We had some private conversation, which I do not want to bring. But bottom line is that you could have issued a statement as Akani Adam without making it the PNC position. And none of us, because first we are individual before ascending to a political party. And you could have an individual position on a certain matter. You understand? For instance, I could be an atheist, a Christian, or a Muslim. That has nothing to do with the political party that I belong. There are factors that attract you to a political party. And when we meet as political party, we take those decisions. And beyond that, you have your individual lives to live. You can go to your church, you can go to your mosque, you can go to your shrine. That one, it is your personal thing. And so I would urge that when it comes to, look, if he, for instance, you invited me here, if it was that it was at the spur of the moment that he decided to make a pronouncement, then it is not a statement, but not when you have gone to meditate and scribble and then forward it. When you do know that you are not clothed with authority to even issue statements on behalf of the party.
Has the PNC met on this EC thing?
No.
Not yet?
No.
So the party doesn't have a position?
We have not taken a position. I've seen people say, like, and I was speaking to somebody, I said, look, the PPP, for instance, have a position, and they met, and they decided the line of action that they have to take. So if anybody from the PPP is speaking, the person is speaking because they have met. In our instance, we have not met. The fact that we have not met, or we have not met over some period, does not qualify you to jump and go and issue a statement. It doesn't sit well.
Why is the PNC silent on the EC?
I thought that we've been silent on a number of happenings in this country.
I'm interested in the EC.
You see, I spoke this evening. I said, look, I think that we are missing Tama. You know Tama? Share fruits and Dawa. Some people are jumbling, and the PNC suffered an unjust disqualification leading to the 2016 elections. Our hands were tied to the back. The MPP, NDC, and other political parties were on the field, navigating the length and breadth of this country. With less than 18 days to the election, the EC untied our hands and said, go and contest the elections. There is bitterness in us because the votes that we could have captured somewhere, we lost it because people said, look, we are no more participating. Some of them, because they said we are no more participating, jumped onto other political party candidates. And it was difficult for them to return to our fold when the Electoral Commission untied us. So I can understand the bitterness. And people want to say, because of what they did, they should be penalized. It is not the case that we are having today. The case that I am told is before the committee is that it is issues of procurement.
Right.
And really, issues of procurement are not the remit of the PNC. We are interested in matters of elections. We are interested in ensuring that right is done during elections, that the EC is able to put itself to ensure that elections are conducted well. As to issues of the procurement of the Electoral Commission, I do not have capacity to go and tell them what to procure and how much they should procure it. So when people are sitting down and we suddenly get boxed, we don't do intellectual distillation of the issues. You know, you can get lost in the maze of events. And I think that it's some of these things because we don't take our time to sieve what is currently ongoing. Issues of procurement, what has that got to do with that the Electoral Commission put rules and regulations down to ensure that elections are transparent?
Bernard, I'm grateful for your time with us. He's the chairman of the People's National Convention, Bernard Mona, there talking to me. There is more of this on 3news.com. But let's jump into some other issues. Now, the Accra Region government has taken over investigations into a police corporal who has been assigning or assisting robbers with guns for operations. Corporal Raymond Amegashi of the Tema SWAT team, apart from supplying guns to armed robbers, also go on operations with them.
35-year-old Corporal Raymond Amegashi, who is stationed at the Tema Regional Police Special Weapons and Tactics SWAT unit, is believed to be the leader of a robbery gang. The gang attacked and robbed the supermarket at Nungwa in the Greater Accra region around 9:30 Tuesday night. They reportedly made away with 54,000 cedis from the Asante supermarket amid sporadic firing of AK-47 rifles. Three of the suspected armed robbers, 30-year-old Stanley Akoli, Ibrahim Ayeribo, 23, and Bright Dokonu, 20, were intercepted at a police checkpoint at Abattoir in a taxi they used in the robbery. The police corporal Raymond Amegashi, who escaped at the first encounter, was arrested at Chokpoli barrier on his way to the Volta region. The police also retrieved 2 AK-47 rifles in his possession, in addition to several ammunitions.
We look forward into looking into him very well and finding out a lot about him. So those things I believe will come. So for now it will be quite difficult for me to conclude or find out whether he has been engaged in several of these misconduct in the past.
The 4 are to be put before court as soon as investigations into the crime is completed. TV3 Investigations has revealed that Corporal Amegashi was due to start examination on Friday, December 15, towards a promotion to sergeant. His arrest brings to 5 the number of police personnel arrested this year involved in high-profile crimes at Kaswa, Upper East Region and the Tema Tollbooth. The arrival of Corporal Amegashi aroused anger among the personnel at the Accra region.
Grateful for your time with us on 3FM 92.7 and also on TV3. The show was put together by Isaac Ameko, Studio Director Richard Bruce Lampton. My name is Bright Nananfo. Have a good night, but stay right here on TV3. Good night.